Hey guys, today I'm working in the cottage garden. This cottage, I can see the finish line. It's gonna be done very, very soon. And the garden itself, out in front of it, is filling in a lot. We've got snapdragons blooming. I'll take you through and show you what's going on. But there's some maintenance I have to do. I've got some pests and disease issues to deal with. I've got some disbudding issues. We're gonna talk about dahlias, roses, the whole 9 yards. You see right here, the stairway is going in. I've had the stairway here, but it looked like this before with just some 2x6s between the stumps. But now I've added some stonework that I got for free that I found around here from before we moved in. And I'm using gravel to fill in between. I'm also dealing with a drainage issue I had here, but I'm going to cover all of this project on Next Level Homestead, probably coming up in the next few days. I've been filming myself doing that. So if you're not subscribed over there, here it is right here. Remember back when I planted these sweet peas and I made this teepee? I wasn't sure if we'd have enough time before the hot weather set in for them to bloom, but here they are blooming, and there has been no hot weather at all. So a couple things with sweet peas, sometimes you just want to help them out. They're kind of away from the trellis here, and I just kind of tuck them under, and they'll send out these little tendrils to grab on. Another thing with sweet peas is the more you pick them, the more they'll bloom. If you allow them to go to seed, which means you just don't pick them and then they develop the little pea pods and the peas inside, which are poisonous by the way, but if you allow them to do that, they think their job is done and then they can die. We don't want them to die. So you just want to constantly pick off these flowers. Have a smell. Can you smell that? Ugh, best smell ever. So I'm going to go through the garden and find different issues that need to be tackled. And so if you have a flower garden and want to know what you should be doing at this time of year or whenever, I hope this will help. I did want your opinion on something though really quick. So we were at Rite Aid the other day and they had all their garden stuff 60% off. So I got these 3 window boxes. There's 2 this size. So one would go here or probably just outside like that. The other one would go here. And then the little one would go up there. So here's my question. Do I leave them this color or do I paint them? And you can also let me know what color you think they should be painted. So I will tell you, the door for the cottage, the front door is going to be like a robin's egg blue, teal, somewhere in between there. I don't think I want to paint these teal. I think that would be too, I don't know. But should they be white? Should they be painted the color of the cottage trim? Or just leave them as is? So help me out in the comments with that. Take a look at these snapdragons, and they match this rose almost perfectly. This is apple blossom, and the rose is the Alnwick rose, David Austin. This one bed here, the plants are a little less healthy looking than everywhere else. And the reason is we had a huge, right where that rose is, we had a huge eucalyptus stump. And it was ground out. When we had all the trees removed, they ground that eucalyptus stump out. And I tried to pull as much of that wood shavings and sawdust and stuff away and put it in the paths actually, and replace the soil in here. But I'm sure there's still a lot that I just couldn't get out. And so it's robbing nitrogen. So I'm going to give these some extra nitrogen, and hopefully that will give them some more oomph, some more color. Because you can see here, because this yarrow right here looks completely different than the one just right across the path. And these were planted at the same time, and it's the same variety. This dahlia looks a little yellow. I'm not sure if it's showing up in camera. That salvia is a little yellow. So the rose is doing okay, which is weird because that's right where the stump was. So I'll get some fertilizer on there and hopefully remedy that problem. Another thing you want to do at this time of year, if you haven't done it already, and I believe I put it in my last monthly to-do list video, you want to stake plants that need staking, like these delphiniums. Look at the color on this. Isn't that amazing? So I just have these little green bamboo stakes tied to each one, because these will be getting a lot taller and they will start to flop, especially if it rains. The first dahlia here in the cottage garden is just getting ready to bloom. This is Rebecca Lynn. And I'm noticing that some of the dahlias have been eaten on right here. I'm sure there's some snails in here, some earwigs. I'm not as concerned about that as I am this. When the leaves start to curl and pucker like this, that is some kind of a sap-sucking insect. So it could be aphids, it could be whitefly. I don't see any evidence of whitefly. Leaf miners, I do see possible leaf miner paths right here. So I'm going to give those a spray. And I'm basically using a horticultural oil. You can use neem oil, mixing it with water. And I also take this opportunity while I'm spraying to go ahead and mix in some organic liquid fertilizer. This is Neptune's Harvest Rose and Flowering Formula. And just give it a good soak, tops and bottoms of the leaves. I'm also going to take the opportunity to deadhead these roses here. I don't have a lot of deadheading to do because these are new roses. However, I want to show you how to do it. Now, technically, you could just come by when this is dead and just break it off. That's going to stop the flower from producing seeds in this head here. And stopping it from producing seeds, just like with sweet peas, it's going to continue the flowering throughout the season if it's an ever-blooming rose. But to do it properly, to get the best amount of growth for the strongest plant, you want to take a look at the leaves. Let's look at this one here. If you notice, this leaf here has 1, 2, 3 leaflets. This one has 5. Now, on older roses, you might have to go down quite a bit on the stem to find the one with the 5 leaflets, and that's where you want to cut. But you want that leaf to be facing in the outward direction. So this one is facing in the outward direction, so you could cut right above that. But if this was the first one with 5, it's facing toward the center of the plant. That's just going to make a messy plant because that's where the new growth is going to come from, and it's going to grow this way into the center of the plant. And by the end of the season, you're going to have a mess. So find the first 5 leaflet leaf facing away from the center of the plant and cut right above that. Whenever you're in the garden, just take the opportunity to pull out any weeds you see. It is so much easier when they are at this stage. Now, if you didn't do that and you let them get a little further than this and might be a little out of hand, I did a video that I will link up at the top and down in the description. It's going to show you how to tackle some weeds the easy way. While we're talking about roses, I came over here to the Mediterranean garden just to show you a disease that some roses get, and that is rust. Now, rust looks like this. And that can be deadly for your plant. And so what you want to do is you want to cut off all the leaves that are affected by the rust. Do not compost them. They need to be thrown away. Don't leave them on the ground. They need to be out of your garden completely. And sometimes that could mean defoliating the entire plant. This is going to come close to it. And you want to look under the leaves because that is where the rust is usually going to start. Just cut them right back to the stem that they're growing out of. Now, defoliating the plant for a rose is not going to kill it. But the rust, on the other hand, just might. So I ended up removing pretty much every leaf off of the rose except for these the new growth up here at the top. They were just about all infected, and so for me, it's just better to get them all off of there. And now I'm going to follow up with a spray of horticultural oil. And in this instance, I'm going to do this every 2 weeks as long as we're having this cool, foggy weather. So between 55 and 75 Fahrenheit, moist, that's when diseases like rust really take hold. But no, I'm not worried about this rose being this heavily pruned. It probably will grow back even more with a vengeance and be beautiful in about 6 weeks. Sometimes plants like this Dusty Miller don't realize they need to stay in their place and not encroach upon this guy's territory. So just help keep them in bounds with a little trim. And then there's this clary sage, which is really large and in charge and encroaching upon these three salvias that I've got here in front of it. So I want to make this look as natural as possible. So with these big leaves, you just want to take one off every once in a while. Leave as much of the structure intact as you can. You don't want to cut right across this leaf. So I'll probably go ahead and take the bottom one off. Hopefully that'll give that enough room. And over here, that one, and maybe this one. Now, one of the bits of maintenance that we did the other day was to net our blackberries. While they are small and just producing a few berries right now, there are some, and I definitely want to keep the ones that are growing and not let the squirrels and birds get them. Especially these right here. This is a new variety that I've never grown before. It's thornless. I've never grown thornless blackberries before. I didn't have a lot of room wherever else I lived, and I had a hand-me-down berry, the Olala berries, which are those right there, that my family has grown ever since I was a little kid. My grandparents got some, they gave my parents some, and then when I moved, I took some. And so I want to see, because, you know, dealing with thorns isn't fun, so if thornless tastes just as good, we'll see. This variety is called Ponca, P-O-N-C-A. So to net these, I got some cloth net. I don't like the plastic kind. It's very tangly, birds get caught in it. It's just not a fun situation. But we have the guy wires here for the berries. And I just took these old tomato clips, which I don't even use anymore, and we just threaded it through the netting, hooked it around here, closed up the ends, and I think that should keep the squirrels and birds out. Unfortunately, the pumpkins I planted a few days ago are not that lucky. You can see I needed to use more landscape staples because the squirrels just scooted this tool over and dug it out. They didn't even eat it. They just left all the pieces here for me to find. So I need to secure this a little bit better. Now, if you've been following along on our dahlia videos, I told you a couple months ago, once your plant has about 3 sets of leaves to pinch out the top growth, and that's going to make a bushier plant. Now, there's another optional piece of information I can give you. Now, when I was a kid, I grew dahlias for show. And so to make the biggest, best blooms, you would disbud the dahlia. Now, if you just want a bunch of flowers and don't quite worry about, you know, the size, then just leave it. It's a lot less work. But if you want that big, beautiful dahlia like you see in the catalogs, then you want to focus this stem's energy to this main bud, which means disbudding the 2 right here. Now, if this was a show quality dahlia, you'd go all the way down the stem, taking out any growth that's in any of these armpits to really focus that energy on this top bud. But I doubt most people are going to be showing their dahlias. But if you are, there's a tip. However, this year I may not even disbud. Maybe a few of the bigger ones, maybe cafe au lait, some of the ones that I really want to see their potential, you know, size and quality. But for the most part, I think I'm going to let them be. So my biggest tip is to just take a nice, relaxing walk through the garden daily. Maybe in the morning with a cup of coffee or in the evening, and just see what's going on. Notice any differences. Notice the fun differences, new flowers, new growth, but also notice pests or disease. And as soon as you see it, get on top of it. It'll be a much bigger headache if you wait. Same with weeds. So I hope you enjoyed just kind of following me around, taking care of some things in the cottage garden that needed to be done. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, share it with a gardening friend, and I'll see you next time.